So some news just coming into us from the Supreme Court, where former President Trump is now asking the justices to block a House committee from getting his tax records. He basically says the committee doesn't have a good enough reason to try to get their hands on them. I want to bring in NBC's Sahil Kapoor on Capitol Hill. This is kind of well, it is, Sahil. This is going to be the last stop in this long-running fight between Donald Trump and the House Ways and Means Committee. It's not like there's another court they can go to after the Supreme Court, Sahil.
That's right, Hallie. This is a years-long legal saga, and the Supreme Court is the last entity that gets to decide whether Donald Trump has to release his tax returns to the House committee or whether he can block them. Now, let's rewind to 2016 to explain how this all began. Donald Trump, of course, became the first president that cycle since Gerald Ford not to voluntarily release his tax returns in the course of a campaign. Democrats were aghast at that, and then when they took control of the House of Representatives, they decided to use a law that dates back to 1924 that enables the chairman of the Tax Writing Committee, that is the Ways and Means Committee, to compel the release of a person's tax returns if they could argue that there was a valid legislative purpose for doing so. What Donald Trump's team argues in the filing today with the Supreme Court after he's lost in the lower courts is that the committee does not have a valid legislative purpose. Let's put up a snippet of that statement on the screen. They argue that the committee's purpose in requesting President Trump's tax returns has nothing to do with funding or staffing issues at the IRS and everything to do with releasing the president's tax information to the public. Now, the Ways and Means Committee argues that there is a program in law that subjects a president's tax returns to mandatory IRS review, and their legislative purpose, they're stating, is to make sure that Donald Trump's determination to conceal his tax returns is not imposing a heavy hand and kind of short-circuiting that process. So that is the legal argument that you see on both sides. There are two deadlines here going forward to keep in mind, Hallie. There's the deadline of this coming Thursday. The appeals court mandate to release those tax returns to the committee applies on Thursday if the Supreme Court doesn't weigh in. That's not a lot of time, and a congressional source familiar with this matter says if that mandate goes into effect, then the Ways and Means Committee could get their hands on those tax returns very, very quickly. The second deadline to keep in mind is January 3rd. That is when the new Congress takes effect, and right now, polls say the Republicans are favored to take control of the House. If that holds, if they do take control of the House and get the Ways and Means gavel, they could say, well, we've changed our mind. We don't want those tax returns. And this entire project of the committee getting their hands on those tax returns could be in peril. The next couple days will be very important in determining which way this goes, Hallie.